Hey everybody, this is Ryan Scher from Digital One Audio, PCDJ. I'm here with DEX 2.0, our latest and greatest release. DEX features audio, video, and karaoke support. This quick video is just a short tutorial to help you get started with the program. There's going to be a series of these videos that we're going to put out over time, but this one focuses on just kind of learning what DEX is all about, the different components, and how to get started. So here we have 4 players: Deck 1, Deck A, Deck B, Deck C, Deck D, or 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here you have your mixer section, complete with your video preview window, and 2 crossfaders, one for audio and one for video. At the bottom here is your browser or your library. It's separated into 2 sections. This is your browser that allow you to, go through your different directories on your hard drive, as well as build your playlists, and then use the global browser or database, which you can store all your songs in if you prefer to do it that way. When you first open up DEX, it's not going to do this for me because I've already had it open, but it's going to present you with an option to add music right away. You'll actually see this right here. It'll say add songs. So you'll have the option to add files, which is individual files or multiple individual files. You can add a folder, which is a whole directory, and scan it in. Import your iTunes library. And to clarify on that, it will import your songs from iTunes right now, but not your playlist, which is something we're looking at to do later. And then you can import playlists, which are M3Us, which are pretty much standard throughout the industry. A lot of programs use those. So I'm not going to do it that way. I'm actually going to show you, I think, an easier way to do this. Everything is pretty much done through playlists. So as you see down here on the left side, you have database, history, lists, and explore. So right now I'm going to use the Explorer option. I'm going to navigate to my desktop right here. And you'll see I've created a little folder called DEX Intro that I've thrown a few files in. If you right-click with your mouse on that folder, you'll see an option for New Playlist from Folder. So I would click that. And instantly you'll see this. If it's a small enough group, it'll come up right away. If you have a very large folder that you're trying to import or create a playlist from, it may take a few minutes. So just wait. It'll ultimately come in there. And you'll see this. So I'll go down to my DEX intro folder that I just imported. As you see, that's now listed under lists. And here are all the songs within that folder. Basically, before I get started here, I've thrown multiple different formats in this particular folder. I have audio, video, and karaoke files. What's really handy over here at the top of the browser section is you have filters for each of these items. So if I just want to view my audio files within that particular folder, I click audio. There's my audio tracks. I can click video and see just the video tracks. And of course karaoke, there's all my karaoke tracks. Show all will go back to displaying everything that's in that particular playlist or folder. So there's that. And one other major thing here that should be handy in helping you get started is your preferences or your configuration options. The very top left and right side of the application here, we have these little gear circular buttons. If you click that, it'll bring up your preferences. In here's your general tab you'll be presented with right away. Here you can pick various skins with DEX that we've included. Of course, as we move along here, we're going to have a lot of user submissions, other skins that we probably create that you'll be able to pick through. Right now, you'll see that we just have the default skin with various resolutions. So we've pretty much picked out what resolutions we feel are most standard within the industry right now, and have included those different sizes. So you pick the one that corresponds with your particular screen resolution, and it'll fit your screen as perfectly as possible. So there's that, and through your different settings here, you have high quality time stretching and pitch scaling. I always leave this on. Most computers today are well off enough, have enough processor power, enough RAM to handle this. And when selecting it, it's night and day really. The time stretching in here is phenomenal, so you really want to leave that on. So that's what that is. And time stretching, so that everyone understands it, is the ability to speed up or slow down the song without affecting pitch or key. So it maintains the same key. You don't get that chipmunk or Darth Vader effect, but you can still speed up or slow down the song so that you can properly mix between files, between tracks. So you have reset deck on load. That'll just reset all your settings upon loading a new file. I always leave that on. Typically, I don't want to use the last known settings when I'm loading a new track. Beat matching when auto mixing, that is definitely user preference. Usually if I'm setting up an autoplay list to autoplay from, I'm looking for just radio style smooth transitions from song to song. I'm not looking for it to try to beat mix or take the place of what I do, more or less. Use current list when auto mixing. You definitely probably want to keep that checked. If you do not have that checked, when in auto mix mode, which is autoplay, essentially is going to play down through your selected list in order. If you don't have this selected when engaging auto mix, it will only mix the default wait list. So what that means is whatever list you're in, it's not going to pull from there. It's going to pull from the default auto mix list that we provide you with in your browser. So check this off if you want it to play through the list you are currently focused on or in. Show hints or tooltips when you're getting started. You probably want to keep this on. This will allow you to hover over any button or function with your mouse, and it'll tell you exactly what that particular feature does. This is a slow pitch reset function. You can turn this all on or off. This basically means when triggering the little button at the middle of the pitch slider that would basically reset it to 0 position, or the middle. If you have this selected, it'll slowly decrease or increase to go back to 0. So instead of snapping to that 0 position, it's going to actually slowly decrease or increase till it gets to that position. The next option is use perceptual automatic gain. This is kind of a unique feature. This basically adjusts volume based on how the human ear perceives volume. So unlike a lot of AGCs where they're basically looking at one peak and trying to buff everything out to this level, this actually adjusts volume based on how you hear it or how the human ear perceives loudness or volume. Enable jog wheel scratch mode. This allows you to just take your mouse and basically hover over one of the jog wheels in player A or B and essentially scratch up and down by simply right-clicking or left-clicking with your mouse. Remember song equalizer settings. So if you adjust the EQ for a particular song, it'll actually remember that. So the next time you load the song, it'll use that previous EQ setting. Down here with all these sliders, this is your auto mix fade time adjustment setting. Through this setting, basically you can adjust when it fades to the next song when using auto mix or shuffle. So it'll basically fade at 7 seconds remaining, which of course you can move up or down. The pitch or tempo range, you can bring this all the way down to 4% or all the way up to 50. That's just the amount of change in pitch or key or tempo, essentially, that you're able to use on any of the players. So you can go all the way up to 50%, which allows you to do some cool things. I mean, you can mix throughout many different genres fairly simply. The cutoff filter, basically that's just your mode, low pass, high pass. There's a little filter button on screen that you can trigger with your mouse, and this adjusts whether you want it to be a low pass or high pass type filter. Load songs in RAM. You almost always want that on, unless you're using kind of an older machine where you might not have enough real-time memory. You might want to put this on auto, but generally speaking, any computer built within the last 3 years, you're going to want to keep it on load songs in RAM. This will load the entire song or the entire track into memory so that you can play it really seamlessly without hiccups. Crossfader curve control, pretty much always leave this in the middle. This just adjusts the level of curve to the crossfader, much like any standard hardware mixer today. Up across the top of your Preferences tab, you have your Audio and MIDI tab. By selecting this, you'll be presented with a whole nother gamut of options here. At the very top of this window, you're going to see Select MIDI in Devices. Okay, if you have a MIDI controller connected right now, it would show in that window. I don't have anything connected right now, so I'm blank. But if you had something connected, it would be displayed right there for you. We do support multiple different MIDI devices at this time. Not all of them. We're going to be continuously adding MIDI controllers as we move along. For a full list, you'll want to keep tabs on the DEX product page at PCDJ.com. As we add devices, we'll continually add them to that page so you can see what's new. Right here is where you select your sound card. Okay, by default, it's probably going to use what's built into your computer. In my case, that's what I'm using for this demo. But typically speaking, you hit your drop-down menu. If you've got a high-end professional-grade audio card selected, you'll see those options. You're going to probably want to use ASIO. It's just going to offer you lower latency control, usually a little hotter output signal too, so it's going to sound a little better, a little more crisper, a little more punch on the low end. So right here, as you see, I've had multiple sound cards connected in the past, so you can pick, for instance, say a Gigaport AG ASIO driver, Maya 44, VersaPort, OmniControl ASIO driver. Those are multi-channel sound cards, which are obviously very useful in this instance. Multi-channel sound cards are going to give you that ability to preview on your headphones while the other channel plays live, or of course run to an external mixer where you can configure it so player A goes through one channel of the sound card, player B through another channel of the sound card. So you can send the two separate line in on the mixer and control all your crossfading, queuing, and monitoring from your mixer directly, your physical external hardware mixer. So if I'd picked, for instance, a Gigaport AG ASIO driver, I'd then want to pick multi-channel mode. If I don't pick that, okay, just to run through these, normal. If I pick that, it's just going to be a single output, no separate channel, no Q channel, no separation. Split mode, if you're using like a single sound card and you just want to split mono, you can take your single little mini jack output on your laptop, for instance, and split that into two separate mono channels so you can cue from one of those mono channels while the other plays live. Preferably, though, if you're using a professional grade card, you'd use this third option, multi-channel sound card. And this is basically when you select this, the settings below here kind of correspond with it. So if I pick a multi-channel sound card and then use external mixer, that's going to do, as I said before, it's going to configure one output for player A, one for player B. You'll run to two separate lines of your external mixer and cue from there. Disable crossfader and volume when in external mixer mode. That's so that you can't, accidentally, say, throw the internal fader to the left or to the right, and then forget about it. And using your physical mixer, you'll forget, and for some reason you won't have any audio on a specific channel. That's because the crossfader on the virtual on-screen mixer is on the opposite side. So typically, if you're using an external mixer, you're going to use this option. You're going to disable that. We also give you the option to use a second sound card for queuing. So if you had a second sound card in this machine, you could pick that, and that would become your dedicated cue channel. So you'd use your one sound card for your main, the other for your monitor. We also have a few timecode options, which is something we'll get into in a later video. Basically, timecode just allows you to control the software via turntables using special pieces of vinyl that have a timecode signal that basically translates to ones and zeros, tell the software where it's at, position and velocity, so that you can control the software that way. So we'll jump out of here. So basically, just some other things in the library. Real quick, you have the database. Okay, this is your global database. Basically, some people will just put all their songs in there. I don't think that's a real way of doing things, a real great way of doing things, not a real good way to manage files. So as I showed you before, it's probably best that you use the Create Playlist from Folder option by just navigating your drive, finding a folder, right-click, and generating the list. Here you have your history. This will show you tracks that you've played. The last few tracks that I played for demo purposes, obviously I've played a lot of the same tracks, but that'll show your history, so you can go back at the end of an event and see what you played, and you can even generate a playlist from it if you wish to use at a later date. Across the top here, obviously your search, very handy feature. If you're looking for Mike Posner, it's going to show you Mike Posner. If you're looking for, I don't even know everything that I have in here, but party, enter party, Okay, so clearly I don't know everything that I have in here. Regardless, the search is really fast. Whatever you have in the library, it's going to search through. Whatever group or list it's in, it's going to find it. You can also edit tags of your files through your browser. I can click on the song, edit the tag, and update it, and it will update immediately without having to refresh or anything else. Again, here's your add button if you wanted to add your files, iTunes library, import a playlist. This will remove files that you've selected in a particular list. So if I've got triples in here, so if I want to remove these, I can just hit remove and bang, they're gone. I can clear the entire list by clicking this clear button. You can move up or down a song within your playlist by simply highlighting the song and using one of these up and down arrows. This will move that song up and down the list. It's really handy if you have a auto mix playlist set up and you just want to move a song around. These are kind of self-explanatory. Over here you have your shuffle function, which will basically randomize whatever list you're in. So the files will be completely random so that when engaging auto mix, they'll play in this newly shuffled order, which is a newly random order. You do have a preview player, which is really handy, which will always send out, especially if you're using the internal mixer, it'll always send that channel out to your headphones for previewing. So I can simply double click a file and you'll see that it's now playing in my preview channel. So I can stop that by simply clicking on preview. You also have these color coding options. You can color code your tracks for quick viewing. If you think something's hot and you want to play it right now, we'll make it red. It'll store that until you clear it. You can simply go back to the original default color by clicking the option on the far right side, this button here, and it will go back to the original color. That about sums up this video because I see I'm running kind of long here. I'm already at 16 minutes. Just to briefly go over, I guess, the player sections, just so you know what everything is so you can identify it. Here you have the waveform display for the player, which also has a beat grid, which is really handy when using the sync functions. You have your restart song button right here, which will basically go back to the beginning. Your rewind button. And your beat step button, which is kind of clever. This will, when triggered, it'll just jump back one beat. Here are your different cue points, which are your hot cues. You can trigger those with a simple single click, and then click the button again to trigger that cue point. Here's the jog wheel, which you can use to scratch the song forwards and backwards. You have your mic control. We actually allow you to plug in an external mic and control it all here. Pretty self-explanatory. You can even add effects, VSD effects or other vocal effects. These buttons across the top, this will bring up your effects options if you've loaded any, which we allow you to use any VSDs, which are professional level studio effects. You have a sampler down here. If you trigger this button, you can load small WAV files or MP3s for that matter in here and trigger those, and you can even sync them to one of the decks if you wanted to. You do have a learn function, which is really useful if you haven't, if we haven't mapped your MIDI controller already. You can simply click learn, and you'll see what happens. It'll highlight every little component of the screen. So it's as simple as if I have a MIDI controller connected, I'll just click play here, and then I'll click the corresponding play button on the mixer, and it will be mapped. So you can essentially map your entire controller this way. And it will store it, so every time you plug in that controller, it will recognize the controller and your previous map. Record button, it'll do just that. It'll record your mix. You have gain for each deck up here, low, mids, and highs EQ. This button here is a mix now, right in the middle. What that'll do is when triggered, if you're playing something in A, it'll quickly fade out of A and start the opposite deck. Not only that, it will then load the next song from your the playlist you're in to the opposite player. So if it'll mix out of player A to B, B is playing, it'll load the next song from your list into A. You also have your headphone controls here where you can choose which channel you want to monitor, and volume controls for the headphone mix and volume. And in the players, again, pretty self-explanatory. Cue play does just that. If you're on a cue point, you trigger this, it'll jump back to the cue point and play from it. Cue will set a cue point or stop on a cue point, and play clearly plays. The key lock control here allows you to adjust key without tempo. So if I want to actually adjust key, but leave the tempo of the song playing at the same rate, I can adjust this here. Here is your filter, which will actually allow you to, tweak the sound, high or low pass. You have dedicated buttons for loops. You can do a 1/4 beat loop, 1/2 beat, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32 beats. You can also use these buttons once you're in a loop to multiply by 2 or subtract by 2, actually, so divide by 2. In and out is just that. That is if you want to manually create a loop. What's cool about this is with traditional CD players, when you do an in and out loop, well, a lot of the times you have to be deadly accurate, you have to be right on, which is a good skill to have regardless. But this button here will actually snap to the closest beat. So if you're a little off with your in and out, it'll snap to the closest beat to make sure that your loop is really tight and perfect. So if you're even beat synced between 2 tracks and use that function, they should remain synced because the loop is very tight. So that is my first video. I'm going to, as I said, you're going to get a series of videos that are going to come out over time. We're going to be posting them on the website, on our YouTube channel, and also, through email campaigns. So if you download one of our demos, you'll receive these videos to kind of help you through the process. So thanks a lot. Till next time, keep spinning. Thank you.